Radical.
Welcome to Bar 2 of Radical Rapid Fire Guide Response for April 25th through May the 1st, 2022. Short comments, quick replies. Dude guy, do people lowball you a lot there? Do you stick to your guns with prices or let them haggle you down a bit? Well, at the flea market, I guess it depends on the item. Sometimes I'll actually overprice something a couple bucks because I know I'm feeling like somebody will haggle me down on something. There's certain things that I'm selling, and I'm like, okay, I'm definitely going to get what I want for that because I can afford to, because it's an item that has a lot of eyes on it. Now, the key, I think, is to basically stick to your guns on certain things that have a lot of interest, unless you just really want to get rid of it, or it's a very big thing that's hard to haul around, or it's an item like fine china where you're like, okay, that's harder to haul around. Now, some things I'll go down on would be maybe magazines, maybe some clothing items, things I don't really care a whole lot about. But on certain things like, a PlayStation Classic, even though it's probably not worth it, I'm holding to that $40 to $50 range for it because it's complete in box. I'm holding to that. Might take me a while to sell it, but it's something that's getting a lot of eyes, and I know it's just a matter of time before someone buys it. Terry W. Looks good, but you really must have a cassette player. They are a must. Well, if you're going to keep something 100% stock, and shout out to people out there that restore a vehicle and keep everything 100% stock. The first thing people usually swap out with an older vehicle would be the cassette deck, the CD deck. They might put it all digital, in there if they don't have any CDs. But the thing about cassettes is I don't have any cassettes. So if I put a cassette deck in there, it would be completely pointless for me personally. It'd be interesting, Terry. I don't know if they do this, but how about, these game consoles, they have these Retron systems where you can play SNES, Genesis cards, all that kind of good stuff. What about maybe a double DIN or a single DIN that will play CDs and cassettes and AM FM radio? Something like that. That'd be pretty cool, right? I don't know if such a thing exists though. Duck of all trades. Awesome. Definitely keep us updated. I restored a 1971 Volkswagen Super Beetle. 90 cars are awesome. Glad to see them get some love. Well, shout out to you for restoring a car so old. I can only imagine is older a car gets, the harder it is to restore, the harder it is to find parts for. A Volkswagen Super Beetle, that's got to be kind of a rare vehicle. I mean, if you're restoring something maybe like an old Corvette, old Camaro, old Mustang, then that's relatively simple because there's big communities out there, and there's a lot of parts, especially the engines for those particular vehicles. But yeah, big props to you there for restoring that. Imperator Zor. Dude, content creators have been using Patreon and similar things to raise funds for as long as there has been platforms like YouTube. If you don't know this, what rock have you been living under for the past 2 decades? I'm going to ask you what rock you've been living in, because see, YouTube actually came about in late 2005, 2006. All right. So 2006, YouTube. Patreon was not always around. It came to be actually not even less than 10 years ago, 2013. Now that's when the big boom started. A couple years after Patreon dropped, everyone started e-begging. Then there was the GoFundMe, then the OnlyFans, and then you have Twitch, and then you have the big boom that normalized e-begging. But no, content creators have not been uploading. There has not been e-begging from the beginning of YouTube Patreon to that level. Patreon is when a lot of creators said, hey, we have a Patreon, everyone's doing it, and they started defending it early on. Now there's no defense of it, but check back some of the uploads. The early Patreon plug uploads on YouTube about 2014, 2015. Just check them where they're pointing to other creators doing it. It was shamed, and it still should be shamed, in my opinion. Fox Mulder, in your salvage art story, are you going to say, I'm leaving you? I can't do a Scotty impersonation. I've been trying. It's hard. It's just really hard to do something like Scotty, like his impersonation. I can get close, but I'm not even going to attempt it. Are you going to say I'm leaving YouTube like Scotty does every other week? How would I go about that? It's not April, but I'd be like, you know what? This restoral job on this Nissan's taken way too much time, and I can't do YouTube anymore. Sorry guys, I gotta go. See you guys in a couple years. Um, I mean, I'm never going to clickbait like I'm leaving YouTube. Scotty does all the time. But I'll tell you one time, Scotty actually talked about rest in peace. Not his channel, but him. And it wasn't clickbait. He was actually talking about what would happen to his channel if he passed away. And he's very old. He's been working on cars for what now? 65, 70, 75, 80 years. He talks about I'm a nostalgic because worked on cars for 80 years, 85 years. Still not there. I'll try to get a Scotty down because that'd be funny to do a Scotty impersonation. He's all over the fucking place. Nacho Man 25. Welcome to Suns Nation, Rick. Well, I wouldn't say I'm exactly in Phoenix Suns Nation. I'm not part of the nation right now, outside of maybe just wanting Chris Paul to get him one ring. I think he deserves one ring. I mean, he is the point guard after all. I think Chris Paul, especially this season, he deserves one finals victory. After that, I'm like, okay, I don't care about the Suns no more, but I want the Suns to win at least one, specifically Chris Paul. Actually, I don't really care about the rest of the Suns. I just want Chris Paul to win at least one. Wolfpack 1. I think those bins were worth more than the products inside. Okay, here's the deal. Those bins that I use, those were, I think, $4 each. Maybe $3.98. Would tax a little bit over that. The reason I had white bins was they were out of black bins. You always want to go with black bins because they don't show dirt, right? It's hard to keep the white bins clean. It seems like every week I have to go through the white ones and I'm like, where did all this dirt, where did all this crap come from, So you're wrong on that because the 50-cent items, I can squeeze about maybe 20 of those in one bin. So you can do the math there, We're talking about double the worth of the bins there. Rune Mamba. Never restored a car, but why a Nissan though? They suck. Well, the sad thing about Nissan is they had the merger with Renault and their quality went what does that sound? Down the drain or down the hole or down something, right? The quality was terrible. If you have an Altima with those CVT transmissions, for instance, just get rid of it as soon as possible. Like, there's things I would not do that are daring. Maybe like, go into a moist, warm trim without a rubber if I don't, want to have kids. I wouldn't do that. And I wouldn't get a Nissan without any service records of that CVT transmission. Some of those Nissan CVTs take several thousands of dollars to fix. Okay? Crap CVT transmissions. And I think that even affected Nissan's stock price. They were so bad. And Nissan quality, they say it's getting a little bit better, but there's nothing that holds up like a 80s, 90s Nissan. Datsun, some classic Datsuns, a lot of people restore. The vehicle that I have would be a 1994 Nissan Sentra. And a lot of people point to the value of 240SXs. Well, the Nissan, specifically even the SR20, and I could do an SR20 swap. It might not be too difficult, I've been told. But those are some sought-after JDM vehicles. And we're not talking about Mustangs or Camaros or things like that a lot of people restore, and like I said earlier, have lots of parts for. Parts, specifically interior parts, are rare and impossible to come across. So part of why I'm delving into doing this restore is, one, is this car had been in my family for a long time and I want to do justice to it, to its, glory. And, it's a 4-cylinder econo box and everything. So talk about glory, but there's certain things about this vehicle that I love more than lots of current vehicles. Specifically, it is a small car, but it looks really cool. Like it's a really cool looking small car. It actually doesn't look as small as it is. If you look at it, especially if you put bigger wheels on it, it's not like mean or aggressive looking, but it doesn't look like your typical econo box, right? And it's only like 2,000 pounds. It's only like 2,000 pounds. So if you do anything, any modifications to the engines, or I've seen people actually do some crazy freaking LS swaps on this vehicle, you will have something that will eat Mustangs and Camaros for fucking breakfast, okay? Just with how light it is. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things you could do to it. I mean, I could talk about this forever, but Radical Rapid Fire. But I am going to try to do my best to restore this vehicle. And the thumbnail you see here, maybe I want mine looking kind of like that, but in black.